Hey, welcome, friends. Welcome to our first episode of Blockchain and Aviation. We're getting into an 8-week series with 24 episodes of blockchain and aviation. You say, why in the world would you do that? Well, I'm passionate about aviation and I'm passionate about digital transformation. And one of the things that we found is that people are very interested in this upcoming subject of blockchain. I have guests today. I have a co-host who's going to be with us, and I have a guest who's joining us who is a subject matter expert in aviation and blockchain. And you are going to find this very, very interesting. You are not going to want to miss this. Let me jump right in and introduce my co-host with us today. Hey, I have Gabriel Schultz. Gabriel, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, Gabe. And Gabriel is my son, as you can tell from the last name. And I figured we need to interject some young blood that has some background in blockchain and cryptocurrency and NFTs, into the broadcast. But Gabe, hey, I wanted you just to quickly just tell people who are you and what do you do? Just give them a little background real quick.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Gabriel. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And I've been doing new business development and some sales and marketing at DigitalAircraft for the past couple of years. And I've been also doing some blockchain research and technical analysis of crypto for the past couple of years as well. So I'm ready to talk about it today.
Yeah, it's good. Actually, I was involved in blockchain about 3 years ago. I started doing some broadcasts about 3 years ago, and Gabriel got me interested in cryptocurrency about 2 years ago. And so we're really trying to leverage the knowledge we have around us of digital and blockchain. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. Hey, let's get into our next part of the segment here, which I think you really are going to be looking forward to. Is we have a special guest with us today who's a subject matter expert in the topic of blockchain and aviation. And let me go ahead and just bring him in, and I'll introduce him to you. We have Luis Santos. Luis, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great, Mark. And about you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Hey, Luis, where are you coming from today? Where are you located today?
Well, I'm in Lisbon, in Portugal, and it's currently quite hot in here.
Yeah, all right. Oh, good. Okay. Hey, Luis, just to get us going here, could you tell people who you are and what do you do?
Well, my name is Luis, and I'm a professor in the university here in Portugal, ISEC Lisboa. I'm also the coordinating professor for aeronautical sciences. And basically, we do studies among several other subjects in also application of blockchain in aviation.
Good. And listen, we're going to get into more detail because I want you to understand Luis's background in aviation, because he actually has quite a long history in aviation, as well as involved in digital and technology, specifically focusing on blockchain technology. But hey, let's just take a quick pause because I want to speak to the people that are watching the broadcast today. We had several hundred people which registered for this broadcast today, and I'm very excited to bring knowledge and information to you here on this particular subject. I've had so many people ask me about it, and I always like to recognize people that have joined us in the broadcast. And I wanted to say that if you're watching here today, just drop a comment in the box there. Down below, there is a box where you can put in a comment. Just tell us where you're watching from. We always like to know. And I like to recognize people on the broadcast so that they know that we're paying attention. We are going to do some live Q&A that's part of this, and I'm looking forward to your questions as well. So please share this live stream because we want as many people as possible to be able to watch this with us. So drop me a comment, let me know where you're watching from, and we will give you a shout out. Hey, let's jump right into the information. I'm going to start off by just saying is that why are we doing this? Why is this important? Well, I've been passionate about digital and digital transformation in aviation for many, many years. And an emerging topic over the last few years has been blockchain. I'm going to tell you my quick story. About 3 years ago, I said, I don't really understand blockchain, and I don't really understand what it really is, nor the terminology and what it's really about. And so I decided to head down a little bit of a journey of interviewing people and trying to dig in deeper and understanding what it was. And I did some interviews with people, and it was quite interesting to learn about blockchain. And then over the last couple of years, it's become more and more prominent in the industry. And so I decided to do this series. I'm doing an 8-week series. And in this series, We are, for 24 episodes, we are going to be talking about blockchain, terminology, details, and all the things about it. Hey, we have all kinds of you out there that are telling us where you're from. Let's give a shout out to a few of them because I want people to know where you're from. Let's go to the top of the list there if you could, and let's put them up on the screen there. First of all, we have Christian Steiner watching from Sweden. Christian, thanks for joining us. It's very exciting. And then right after that, we have Sven Hofner coming to us from Germany, and he said he's interested in hearing about use cases. Good. We're gonna be doing some of that, some conversation about that. We have Shivam Rohali. Sorry if I butchered your name, Shivam. Welcome. Glad to have you from India. You know what's exciting to me is we have people join from all over the world. We have somebody that's joined us from Berlin here. We have Arturs Garasius. He's not sure where he's from, or Latvia. Very welcome from Latvia. So you have an airplane in the background, it looks like. And then we have Armand Sabir coming to us from Dubai. Dubai has become a mecca of not just a financial mecca, but a blockchain mecca. And there's a lot of growing, in that space. So let's keep going. We have Christopher coming from Rwanda. Isn't it exciting that we can have broadcasts where we have people from all around the world joining us? And we actually have some people in the United States watching from Virginia. That's great. We have Kieran Prakash. And actually, Kieran is going to be on a future broadcast. We have the chief technical officer from his company, Real Variable, who's going to be joining us tomorrow. Glad to have you with us, Kieran. And we have Yasser joining us from Dubai. Like I said, a lot of people from Dubai, Ireland. Rory O'Donnell. Rory, thanks for joining us. And then we have Toronto. And then we have, let's see, Rena says taking classes on blockchain, passionate about blockchain, and applaud the initiative. Excellent. Thanks, Rena. I really appreciate that. There are so many people that are interested. I just can't even tell you how exciting this really is. Let me give one last shout out to my friend. I didn't want to leave him out. Mike Mullet. I really appreciate you and the technology that you have brought to the table with some of the laser measurement. We got just people keep coming in. I'm going to give two more shout outs and we're going to keep going. We have Albert joining us. He's with Aero Exchange. Albert, I'm really glad that you joined us. Really a great opportunity. And then we have Gustavo. Great. Gustavo from Colombia. Welcome, Gustavo. It's always great to have you watching. Okay. And then I have Dean. Then we're going to move on. Okay. There's just so many people. I can't recognize everybody. Dean is the editor of Northwest Aerospace News. And I love his magazine. He actually put a little feature story in there a couple months ago about my history in aviation and digital. And I really appreciate that. But look, let's move on. There's, as you can see, there's a very high level of interest in these subjects, and I want you to start putting in your questions. All right, so let's just jump into this. I want to go in a little bit deeper in talking about Luis. I want to ask you. You said you're a university professor in aviation, and I'd like to maybe start there. Can you tell us about your background in aviation and what brought you to to being university level teaching?
Well. My career my career in aviation started in 2004, if my memory don't play tricks on me, so quite a long time ago. And I worked for a couple of operators, then also for airworthiness organizations. Then I moved to work for Airbus in Spain. Then I come back to Portugal to work for an MRO from the Embraer group. And then I got a PhD, and as I always love to make science and discover new things, I moved to the university, but I keep always the link with the industry.
Yeah, good solid background and understanding, of the industry by working for, Airbus and Embraer and an MRO, so operations. And then now, I know you're passionate about helping people to learn and to understand. And so that's one of the reasons I immediately connected with Luis and brought him onto the program, because I have a passion to help people learn as well. So that's really exciting. So, hey, let's jump into, I want to ask you a question, Luis. Is that you said a little bit about your journey there, but what kind of problems did you see when you worked in industry that caused you maybe to start looking at technology that resulted in, your blockchain journey? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, and actually this is a great question. I always work with mainly with airworthiness records. So it was quite common for me when I was working to an operator to see how reliable though the records that I'm looking to are, because the records are managed by many people, and sometimes people change something in the records. So sometimes people lose the records. Actually, in the beginning, I was starting my aviation experience. Even then, I didn't feel that was normal. So you cannot have the same information duplicated twice saying different things. So you cannot lose any information that costs you or can cost you lots of thousands of dollars. So that wasn't acceptable for me. Then later on, when I was working on the engineering side of MRO, I was while working on the other side, and I noticed that most of the operators that joining our MRO, they all got work orders stating lost documentation, lost records, do this, do that, confirm that. So there was a lot of work to be done, because people were losing records, records were not reliable. So people were asking to do again the job because they need to make sure that the records were okay. So in that particular moment, I say, well, we are living in a digital world, so it's impossible to lose things up. So I need to do something to solve this problem. Then I met blockchain, of course, like most of the people. I met blockchain in 2015 in the news for a bad reason, but I was curious about what is Bitcoin. And this led me to blockchain and led me to learn about blockchain, and led me also to learn and more about blockchain, because almost immediately I saw the applicability that blockchain has to solve all these problems.
Yeah, and Luis, that's kind of where we're going to go next. Is that so? I see that I love your aviation background, and then how you saw a business problem, and then you started to look at what can we do? How do we find technology that can help solve that? I love that. And so one of the things that I've found is that in my journey is that I did not understand blockchain. I did not understand what it was about, and I believe that it's extremely important for people to understand terminology and what it is and the basis of it. And so I wanted for those of you that are watching to understand is that we made a commitment in this first week that we're going to be spending some time explaining terms and terminology and blockchain. And please understand that we're going to ramp up very quickly going forward in the future weeks. But this week we're going to spend some time talking about terminology, and then we're going to mix in some business cases. And we want people to really understand that. Have a few more people that have joined us. I'll just throw a couple more shout outs out there. We have Yanni. He also works for Northwest Aerospace News. Yanni, thanks for joining us. He's a video expert. He's done some videos for us in the past. And then we have Josh joining us from Sweden. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining. I'm glad you're interested. And we also have Rob Brink joining from Amsterdam. It's fun to have people from all over the place. They're almost some of your neighbors. They're just a few thousand miles away over there from Portugal over there, maybe. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good. All right. So listen, here's where we're going to go next. We're going to start with some conversation about terminology in blockchain. And one of the reasons I brought Gabriel in is because Gabriel's passionate about this subject. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to maybe help us understand this terminology, Web3. We'll come back to Earnhardt, but Web3. So Gabriel, let me ask you this: is that this term Web3 is thrown around out there today? Does it really even exist? What is Web3 and what is Web 1 or Web 2 or whatever? Can you help us understand that?
I can help you understand that. And I think we just need to go over really quick Web 1 and Web 2, just before we go over Web 3. So it really all just starts from the creation of the internet, right? And that's Web 1.0. And I know we all remember using Windows XP and Windows 95, and how it was pretty much just browser technology and read-only. Yahoo, Google, we didn't have very much. So Web 1 was very simplistic, and it was.
You remember those things, Gabe?
I do remember those things. I know it was a while ago, but we still remember those things.
Okay.
And so the further evolution of that is going to be Web 2.0, which adds a social media, pretty much social media, and a social aspect to Web 1.0. So we're able to read and we're able to write. And the last evolution of the web, or not the last, but currently right now, Web 3.0 would be the further evolution of these social media or platforms, decentralized applications, and the implementation of blockchain technologies. So pretty much decentralized applications on top of what we already have, and the implementation of blockchain technology.
Okay, good. Now, I've heard some people out there say that they don't think there's such word really as Web 3.0, is that it's really the internet and it's just continuing to mature and expand. And so I choose not to have a debate on whether there's really a Web 1, 2, and 3, as much as focusing on what's the value of where we're going and what are we doing, all right? And so maybe along those lines, what I'd like to do is Luis, could you give us a little bit of insight into what are some of the attributes or characteristics of what we're calling, Web 3 or, blockchain today?
Well, Web 3, and by the way, Gabriel, you did an excellent job in summarizing
it's just a simple, very simple
of the internet. I think the key point for Web 3 is decentralization. So like Web 1 was decentralized, Web 2 it's quite centralized. So basically it's governed by a few companies. A few companies govern on most part of the internet. So what Web 3 brings back is again decentralization. So we can again own our data. And why this is important? I can give you a brief example of this is important. A while ago, I was browsing to buy a new laptop. I browsed for a specific model and in Google, and 5 minutes later, I was looking for something else in another web page, and boom, appears a ad from a major Portuguese online retailer saying the price of that exact computer that I was browsing about. So basically, that Portuguese computer online retail store is paying Google for my analytics. So the key to Web3 is, again, own our data. So Facebook, Twitter, Google make billions with our data. So it's trying to claim what is ours, our data. And we can make use of our data. We can monetize our data as we wish. If we wish, we cannot monetize it. If we wish, you can monetize it and have some royalties about that. But basically, the key point here is the decentralization. And because Web 1, we have a read-only aspect. Web 2 is read-write. In Web 3, we have read, write, and own the data. So this is quite important. And also because Web3, and I'm just finishing here this quick summary, it's Web3. It will be community government, so it's not decentralized.
You said community property. Is that what you said?
Yeah, community governance. More
okay.
Like this.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the private and public, natures of these things. But now we've talked about sharing of data and availability of data. Another term I hear people keep asking me about is if something's immutable. Gabe, what does it mean if something is immutable?
Yeah, immutable is going to be unchanging over time. We're unable to change it. It's there forever.
Yeah. So one of the things which is important in maintaining the records, like you talked about earlier, is that we have accurate, records that can't be modified or changed. And one of the very interesting topics that we're going to cover in a future session is security, the importance of security. Man, there are so many things that are important on security. on the internet and blockchain. And one of the things that blockchain does is brings us an opportunity to improve that. But we're not going to be talking about that today. And then Luis, let me kind of go to you. Is that I'd like for you to, if you would, is go to the next step here and maybe talk to us a little bit about a blockchain and what does it mean if we have like a distributed ledger. It says there DLT in a nutshell. I don't want to use too much terminology. What is DLT?
Well, DLT stands for distributed ledger technology, and blockchain is just one of the DLTs technology. We can have Hashgraph, we can have DAG also. There are also other types of DLTs. And basically, blockchain is a shared, immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking of assets through a network. This makes almost impossible or quite difficult to change, to hack, or cheat the system. So basically, blockchain is a very secure network.
Okay. And I know this may sound very basic, but I'm just bringing things back from my experience as I went down this journey. At the very beginning, I asked myself, what do they mean a distributed ledger? And I'm like, what is even a ledger? And I even had to go back and say ledger. Oh, it's just a record of certain things. I mean, if you looked at an accounting book, someone writes in a ledger, they write down, this value, and all it is just an accounting or a bookkeeping. And distributed ledger means that it's an electronic distributed record keeping of transactions is what it is. So let's go to the next terminology that I think it's important. One of the things people ask me from time to time, Luis, is, well, yeah, but blockchains are public only, right? And so we couldn't use them. Can you please describe the difference between public and private blockchains for us?
Well, in a nutshell, public blockchain is an open network which is community driven, where anybody can participate in transactions, in the execution of the consensus protocol, in the mining, help determine which blocks get added to the chain or not, and maintain the security and the shared ledger. This is, we can also say that this is public blockchain is an unpermissioned blockchain because everybody can participate in the network.
Yeah, one of the things we're going to do on Wednesday is we're going to dive deeper into some of the differences in public and private blockchains. But I think that's really important that people understand when people say, "Oh, blockchain, I can't use it because that's a public technology and we have confidential information." Well, that's why we implement blockchains in public and in private scenarios. And so we're going to get more into details on that in a minute. Hey, I want to call out a few more people that are watching. I see we have somebody from Ethiopia, Nigeria. We have Asnake. Hey, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate that. We have Ala Salaha. He is actually going to be one of our guest interview speakers. He's in Emirates. He's in Dubai. And he'll be here a week from Wednesday. And then we have Marshall coming in from Boise. Welcome, Marshall. Glad to have you. And wait, we jumped over Deborah. We have Dennis there. Robert from Germany. Welcome from Hanover. Hanover, great place. Then we have Deborah. Deborah is really active on social media. I really appreciate her contributions that she makes to aviation. She's very consistent in engaging in social media, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Deborah. Hey, all right, so let's keep going. We have a couple more terms that we want to define, and then we're going to get to our business cases. We're falling a little bit behind here because we have so much good information. We're going to be pushing this into future sessions, but let's just go to the next slide if we could here. And I wanted to just say that, so one of the other terms that people need to understand is an NFT. Luis, could you please tell us what is an NFT?
Well, an NFT is like a unique token that can represent a digital or physical or both objects and cannot be replicated. So NFT means non-fungible token, and it's a token that is a unique digital asset and has no other equal token in the network like him. So this is important because we need to bring things up what what fungibility is. I think this is important to define. fungibility, well, it refers to object ability to be exchanged for another that is alive. For example, Mark, I can give you, or I can borrow you a $10 bill, okay? And I don't mind you, how are you going to pay me? So it is with the same $10 bill, it is with the other $10 bill, or is with two $5 bills. So you can say that the US dollar is a fungible asset, for example, like most of the crypto assets. So they cannot be divided into different parts. So $10 bills cannot worth more than another $10 bill. So
yeah,
NFT,
one of the things, Luis and Gabe, that I think we need to do that's really important is that people get an impression of what something is, and then they try to sort it out. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. And when I first heard about NFTs, I'm like, what is this NFT thing? And I actually called up a friend and said, explain to me what an NFT is. And that was only about a year and a half ago. Gabriel, in younger people's worlds, what's the most popular NFTs that are out there that people would know?
Well, first of all, so what Luis is trying to say is it's not just a JPEG. It's not just a picture of a penguin or a monkey. It's
or a bored ape.
There's a lot more use cases than that. But
yeah,
there's a lot of them out there.
But there's a marketplace out there for images, and people have started to use them in a lot of different ways, commercially, and we all know about these bored apes that have sold for a couple of $1 million. And yeah, that's an NFT. And, I know people that have created utility NFTs, and they're actually using them to provide, some value in return, which, by the way, we're going to talk about that in future sessions, because airlines have already started to implement NFTs, and we're going to talk about how they're implementing them. Just a few days ago, Etihad released a collection of NFTs. They were image NFTs, and they were of 787s of their fleet. Now, there's others that are issuing NFTs for things like tickets, and we're going to explore that in more detail. But in the context of the things that Luis is talking about, is that NFTs are unique, one-of-a-kind, traceable, immutable records or tokens that are being connected to a record and providing some kind of authority, to that. We're going to be talking about that more in the future, so we're going to keep moving on from here. We have one more category that we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about crypto terminology, because how can you talk about blockchain without bringing in the subject of, cryptocurrency, all right? So let me jump in first of all and say, Gabe, just tell us what is cryptocurrency, from your experience.
Yeah, so either they can be called a digital token or a digital currency. It depends on what you actually think, whether it can be classified as a currency or not. But they are just an alternate form of payment that's online. They're created using encryption algorithms, so they're highly secure. All the transactions are very secure because everything is encrypted on them. Luis, I know that we talked a little bit about wallets earlier, or did we? Accounts?
No, but we'll bring that up. That's good. What is a wallet in terms of cryptocurrency, Gabe?
Right. So that's where we're going to be holding. Well, not technically holding it, but that is where they are stored. They're actually stored on the blockchain. The actual funds are stored on the blockchain. But if you were going to send, cryptocurrency from one person to another, you would have a wallet that's either on your computer, or you can have a physical device that's not online. So you can have an offline wallet as well for extra security.
Yeah, we're gonna get into more details on that. But also, let me just add, is that there are airlines that have started to accept cryptocurrency already as payment for tickets, for transport. And so, you might look at yourself and you might say, well, these technologies don't really affect me. I'm not involved in it. I gave a statistic on one of my pre-broadcast, shows that I did. And I said last year, only 19% of the people in the US held cryptocurrencies, all right? And in Latin America, it was closer to 30 to 50%. And in Europe, it was somewhere around 30, 35%. But the reality is that a large number of people aren't holding cryptocurrencies. And you might say, well, it doesn't really affect me. Well, it's changing all around you. Digital currency is changing all around you, and people are using it and taking it as a form of payment. And so that's why we're wanting people to understand these things. Why is it important for us to understand these things? and bring it into our terminology is because we need to consider them, for how we apply. So listen, we've used quite a bit of time here already, doing what I wanted to do, which was establishing an understanding for terminology. And I'm going to go into a section where we're going to talk about some use cases, some business cases right now. And while I do that, I want to tell you that if you have any questions for us, please throw your questions in the comment boxes. We have just hundreds of people that are watching actually right now. And I know you must have questions. We will answer them over the next few weeks, but we'll answer some today as well. So if you have any questions, drop them in the box. Luis, I want to come back to you and say, let's have a discussion about some business cases. People are asking themselves, where is it appropriate to use blockchain and where maybe is it not appropriate? Can you give us a bit of understanding of some of the problems that you experienced in the industry which brought you to address, blockchain as a possible solution?
Yes, as I mentioned before, aviation relies much on records, airworthiness records. Well, basically all type of records. They are stamped in the regulations, being EASA, being FAA, but they are stamped in the regulations. So organizations need to have a record history of all products. Basically, this is where the problem begins. So sometimes the records extension it's so big, or it's so not organized that people lose track of the records. So this is quite concerning because we need to ensure basically the back to birth of almost everything what we have in our airplane. And this is concerning when people don't have accurate information about the products that are currently installed on an airplane. So this is quite a challenge because what we are trying to do at Earhart is to build an ecosystem where aviation organizations or the aviation ecosystem can place and make use of blockchain technology to make their records. So then the organizations can build a history of records on top, for example, of an engine, of an airplane, or a specific part, and all the back to birth that it's ensured. It is permanent, it is immutable, and it's also reliable information. When you are returning your airplane to your lessor, so you can do it in 2 clicks. All the information goes with the airplane. It's quite simple to do that. We did that a couple of months ago. We did the first phase out, phase in of an airplane using only blockchain technology. And so this will bring a new level of security and safety to aviation, because blockchain can increase security and both safety in this ecosystem.
So I know surrounding this topic of records, there's a number of problems that have emerged in the industry. And I think we have a couple slides which sort of address some of that. Maybe you could talk about, just the general topic, and then I know you have a few news stories and things. Could you just talk about that?
Yes, aviation is highly regulated. Actually, is the second most regulated industry worldwide. So there is almost a piece of regulation for almost everything. But this leads to one thing, that the ecosystem is digital ineffective, because most of the people that I thought they think being digital effective is scan a piece of paper in the scanner and keep it in the computer. This is not digital effectiveness. So this is a digital representation of a physical asset. And so we have an attack that aviation is currently being. So there is a lot of bad players in aviation. Actually, this slide was quite easy, unfortunately, to make. There are a lot of bad examples in the news about forged records and records adulteration in the industry. There is a lot of bad examples. I don't know how many examples or how many more cases there are, but one for me, it's already too much. Also, and the source of this slide is Aerospace Industry Association. In only 4 years, there was 28,000 incidents related to fake parts. Again, blockchain can solve this and can bring trustability of parts and records to the industry. So let's think about this. There is a huge amount of problems in aviation. There also the cost of cyber attacks. The cost of cyber attacks only to the aviation ecosystem in last year was around 20 billion. So you need to think how much cost your airworthiness records. How much did it cost to you? So this is the value that you need to think. This is the value that the blockchain solution can bring to protect your data and to protect your assets. Yeah. Because imagine that you lose all the airworthiness records. The value of your aircraft, of your engine, will be highly reduced.
So Luis, I've noticed in the news lately that we potentially have an opportunity for a lot more fake parts, to enter into the system because of aircraft maybe that have been seized during the war and things like that. And so this problem continues to increase over time, and we have to continue to find ways to solve it. But early on, somebody out there, I forgot the name, but said, I'm interested to know about some of the business cases for blockchain. Well, some of them that I've talked about previously that we're going to cover in future broadcasts are, is that we know that blockchain is currently being used, for different applications like parts and materials and logistics. We know that blockchain is being used in cryptocurrencies and being used, for payment, for air transportation. We know that it's already being used for NFTs and being used by some of the operators for NFTs. We know that blockchain has different capabilities for security, and the necessity of security. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing in future coming weeks is let me explain to you what I've set up. Is this broadcast I've set up into 8 weeks, 24 episodes. And on Mondays, we're going to have something called Ideation Mondays. And on Mondays, I'm going to bring up new ideas, and I'm going to bring people in who have new ideas and what should we be doing and why should we be considering, blockchain? What are some of the problems with it? What are the advantages of it, disadvantages? And then Wednesdays, we're going to have something called Business Case Wednesdays. And we're going to be bringing in specific discussions about business cases, why you would use blockchain, why you wouldn't use blockchain. And then on Fridays, I'm going to do something called Product Showcase Fridays, where I'm going to bring in specific companies to give a more detailed review of their products. Like, for example, Luis is going to come in and give a more detailed example of Earhart and a little bit more information about the problem it solves and really what it's doing in the industry. So, you know what? You say, well, why in the world would you have committed to doing 24 episodes on blockchain? All right. Because look, we've just barely scratched the surface today. We've been going now for 38 minutes, here since we started. And I want to give you an opportunity. If you have any questions, drop a question in the comment box, because I'd like to know what topics you'd like for us to cover. I literally have 30 people, well, not quite. I have 30 slots. And I have about 24 people that have already committed to come in and speak with us on these broadcasts. And so you are going to gain some really valuable information. I know that you're not going to be able to watch every one of them. I'll provide some way in future broadcasts for you to be able to go back and watch recordings. But, our real goal is to be able to bring to you knowledge and experts from the industry who can share with you information which can help you to understand Web3 and blockchain technologies and to be able to evaluate them in the context of your business and consider whether you should consider implementing them or not. All right. Here's my main point. Blockchain is evolving very, very fast in the industry. We need to examine, how it's impacting the industry and how it's going to advance aviation forward. And the only way that we can do that is if we really better, understand that. Okay. Hey, Luis, I want to ask you a question. Is that what are you the most excited about with respect to blockchain and aviation?
Great question. Well, basically, because we can increase safety and return a very significant part of money to the industry. Uh, Forbes and PricewaterhouseCoopers estimate a lot of millions or billions, indeed, that can be returned to the industry, into the aviation industry, just only initially into the use of blockchain. Because when you can increase productivity, information can be linked together. So we have information working for us, and we have savings about the time that work will be taking place. We have savings of managing airworthiness. So we have a lot of use cases in aviation for blockchain.
Yeah, that's, I am very excited about digital and digital transformation, and I'm looking forward to, the implementation of it. So we have a number of questions that have come up, and we're actually going to address them in future sessions. And so I want you to continue to, be asking questions. People are asking about certain terminologies. We're going to address those. People are asking about, certain implementation opportunities. We're going to address those. There's so much that we want to cover that it's really important that we, get your feedback and we address the very specific things that you're looking for. And I promise you, Arturs and Marshall, that we're going to answer those questions, in future sessions. Gabriel, I want to ask you, is it blockchain and cryptocurrencies, NFTs, aviation? I know those things are also exciting to you. What excites you the most about the future in blockchain and cryptocurrency?
Well, right now I've really been looking at NFTs and the real use cases that they're having and what's popping up. Something that's been recently happening is actually real estate that has to do with NFTs, and I think that that's really interesting, and that's something that's going to solve a lot of problems. And I hope we can talk about that later. But it's a long conversation.
Gabe, we actually had two people asking already. There's just so many questions that we've already been going for 45 minutes here today, but somebody's asking about NFTs, and they're asking about security and fake parts and, marketing and customer retention having to do with NFTs and Etihad. And I am definitely, absolutely, Denny's, I'm going to cover those things. And we're making a record of all these questions. And I promise you that we will cover these questions very detailed with the experts that I'm bringing, on board to have these conversations with you. And smart contracts and use cases. Rena's asking about smart contracts and use cases. That's a very good thing. Hey, before we jump off, we were gonna explain what smart contracts were. I want to backtrack just for a second and say, Luis, could you tell people what smart contracts are real quick?
Yes, a smart contract is like a program, which is a record in computer code, and contains agreement or sets of conditions or actions between two parties that emulate a traditional or legal binding contract. I don't think they are still recognized as legal documents, but basically smart contracts are automated actions that can be coded and executed once a set of conditions are met. For example, if I have a lease aircraft, you can make a smart contract of it. So if all lease conditions are met, the lease agreement can move forward. So this is just a simple explanation, but
Good.
there is a lot of use cases.
We are definitely going to be getting into more detail on that. And it's so hard for me because you guys are giving me some really good questions, and I want to answer all of them right now. Like things about the metaverse, and, already there's some airlines that are engaged in metaverse, and, and you might ask yourself, what the heck does it have to do with me now? Hey, listen, last week I met with a guy who is implementing a new MRO system in the industry, and we had a good conversation about it. And I said, are you doing anything with blockchain? And he says, I'm trying to fix my current problems with my MRO system. I can't think about blockchain. I respect that. I understand that. You might not think that blockchain is the most important thing in your world today, because I am passionate about digital and digital transformation. And I say that digital and digital transformation is what's giving us tremendous amount of efficiency in our industry today. And blockchain just happens to be one of those elements that people are very interested in learning about. And that's why I'm trying to bring that topic to you. So be assured that I'm not telling you that blockchain is the beginning of all your answers right there, to the world. And it's just one of the of the solutions that we have that can help us to be more efficient in the industry today. And within that category of blockchain, there are a tremendous number of things that we're going to address, okay? So listen, I'm going to tell you one more time about what's happening in the future. Today was our kickoff session of our blockchain and aviation. And this week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 Eastern Time, 1600 GMT, we actually are having our initial kickoff sessions this week, where we're going to be bringing in guests every single day that we do this. We're bringing in a guest, and we're going to talk about some terminology and some business cases. And then starting in week 2, we're really going to start digging in deeper and talking about, I actually have people that are coming to be on the program who have implemented these solutions at airlines already or at manufacturers. And we're going to get into some details about those business cases and really the value of what they're doing and why they did that. And then we're going to show you some actual details of product solutions themselves and really what they do, very specific. So you're not going to want to miss this. I know this is a long series, 24 episodes. And, and I'm going to give you an opportunity and a way to be able to get to those episodes in the future and to be able to go back and look at them and learn, from them. So do your best to follow along Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at this time. You're going to gain a lot of good information. You'll be able to ask questions live. Today, we ran out of time a little bit to answer all the questions that you had, but I promise you as we move forward, we will answer more and more questions live when we don't have so many things to cover in the first day. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining the broadcast today. Gabriel, thanks for your knowledge, and your explanations. And I know that you're passionate about cryptocurrency and NFTs. And Luis, you have a great background in aviation and digital. How could I have a better guest than somebody that's passionate about digital and passionate about aviation? All right, both of those. Those are the things that I'm passionate about. Thank you. And for those of you watching, we will be bringing him back to talk about the specific solution that they have, the Earhart solution. So thank you for joining today, and I welcome you to join us. By the way, this broadcast goes out simultaneously to LinkedIn, to YouTube, to Twitter, to my Facebook page, and also it goes out to Twitch. Even though I don't use Twitch, it goes off there, and so you can watch it in any of those locations. And then by later today, I actually rip it off to all popular podcasts, and it'll be on every popular audio podcast, so you can listen to the audio if you'd like. It's usually about a day behind to do that. But I join you to follow along on this journey. The idea is that blockchain is going to be part of your world, and we want people to understand it so they can take that knowledge and to be successful in implementing it as appropriate in places where it makes sense in your business. And I'm looking forward to creating efficiencies so that we can connect with people in the industry and to provide better air transport system, a safer, more efficient air transport system. And that's what we're all about. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the broadcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Join us starting again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 Eastern, 1600 GMT. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you on future broadcasts. Fair winds and following seas to you. Have a great day.